If you look at the 10 commandments, it seems like a pretty open and shut case. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image or a graven image. So why are millions of Christians bowing to, kissing, lighting candles in front of statues in painted wood? Is this literally idolatry hanging out in plain sight? Well, hey, my name is Chris. I'm super excited that you came and hung out with my channel today. If you would like and subscribe, that would help me out tremendously. Today, we're diving into the history, theology, and linguistic mix-ups that prove why icons and statues are definitely not idols, and how the Bible actually, in some cases, commands making them. See, this entire debate usually boils down to a translation issue. In English, we use words like worship and venerate and honor and adore interchangeably. But you know what? The early church did not. So let's get into it just a little bit. See, latria is supreme worship, adoration. It's sacrificial love that is strictly reserved for God alone. And then you have another one called dulia. Dulia is high honor, respect, veneration given to created beings like saints, a hero, or a holy person, because how God worked through them. Think about it this way. When we were growing up, when I was a kid, everybody had a Michael Jordan poster and everybody had a Mark McGuire poster before the steroids. And we all looked up to them. They were role models. We all wanted to play sports like them. And there were so many other people while I was growing up that we looked up to, like we want to be like, or we look to as inspiration, as role models. So when somebody bows down before a picture of like St. Jude, they are offering dulia, like this honor. It's not worship. If they're offering latria, worship, that would be idolatry. And the church has strictly condemned that for 2,000 years. See, I'm going to show you what actual pagan worship actually looked like when it came to idols. See, an idol is to believe, they believed it was their God, or it was a physical container holding their God. Like God's localized spirit was there. Pagans believed that you had to feed, clothe, and appease these physical statues themselves. See, an icon or a statue is a tool. Christians know that there's no magical power or divine spirit trapped inside the plaster or the paint. Imagine this. A soldier is deployed overseas. He pulls out a wrinkled photograph of his wife and kids, looks at it with tears in his eyes, and kisses it. Is he in love with that piece of paper? Does he think that that paper is his wife? If he rips the paper, did he hurt his family? No. The affection he shows the paper passes directly through it to the person the photo represents. As early Christian fathers summarized it this way, the honor paid to the image passes to the prototype. It's like this. I'm looking at it. I know that this, like I have an icon right. Oh, I gotta go grab it. I thought I had it right here. So I have this icon right here of Jesus. I know Jesus the Good Shepherd, right? See, I know that this picture right here, this icon is not Jesus. I know it's not. I know if I drop it, I didn't just drop Jesus. I know if I instantly break it, I didn't just break Jesus. I know this, but when I look at it, I'm thinking of Jesus. If I choose to kiss it, it's like I'm kissing Jesus. I'm not kissing the board. Well, technically I am, but in my head, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, I just kissed Jesus. So when we look at it, we have to think of it that way. What I am doing is showing reverence to Jesus, and I'm not throwing it through him, but kind of through this, but I'm going to Christ. Like I know that this image is not him. So let's get in a little bit more, because there's a plot twist here, okay? So when we look at Exodus 20, it says, you shall not have any graven images. Or we're talking about idols, right? We have to look at it through the context of the Bible. God didn't ban art. He banned making gods out of the art. And we know this because when we look at Exodus 25, 18 through 20, God explicitly commands Moses to build 2 golden statues of cherubim, these angels, on top of the Ark of the Covenant. The most sacred object in Israel literally had statues built into it. And then when we look at Numbers 21, God commands Moses to forge a bronze serpent when the people looked at the statue, they were physically healed. If making a statue was a sin by default, God wouldn't have commanded Moses to do it. Here's a game changer. Why couldn't Israel paint God in the Old Testament? Because God had no physical body. If you drew him as a man or an ox, it was a lie. See, but then Jesus happened. Jesus took on the flesh, the bones of the human face, and became visible. By becoming a real flesh and blood man, Jesus sanctified matter. To say that we can't depict Jesus in art is to accidentally claim that he wasn't a real human being. See, statues and icons are not roadblocks stopping people from reaching God. They're a window to help us humans who are visual creatures focus their minds on heaven. They are deeply historical, they are biblical, and they are deeply misunderstood. When we look at it, we look at the idea of who they were. Now, we talked about Jesus for a minute. Let's look at a couple. I have 3 people back here that are not Jesus on my back wall. I want to talk about them real quick. I have St. Ignatius, St. Nicholas, and St. Patrick. And the reason I have them is because they are role models to me as spiritual giants that came before me. Just like we used to have the Mark McGuire and the Michael Jordan posters, and we used to look at them like, man, I want to be like them when I grow up or whatever. Those are the men back there. When I look at St. Patrick was a deeply spiritual, amazing person who had a heart for evangelizing. He not only was a slave, if you don't know the story, he was a slave in Ireland, escaped, went to seminary, became a bishop, went back to Ireland to share the gospel with the very people that hurt him, the very people that enslaved him. He went back to share the gospel. So when I look at an icon or a picture of St. Patrick, I think, man, I would love to have that heart. And when I'm in prayer and I see this, I say, God, please help me have the heart like St. Patrick had, that when those hurt me, I would have the compassion and love enough to go back and witness to them. I have St. Nicholas back there. St. Nicholas is known for charity. That's something I used to struggle with deeply. And I see the icon or the picture of St. Nicholas and I think, God, please help me have the heart of St. Nicholas to help those in need. When I see somebody in need, I would be willing to help them. God, please help me have that charity in my heart. And when I see St. Ignatius, man, if you don't know the story of St. Ignatius, it is absolutely mind-blowing. He was eaten by lions in the Colosseum because he was a Christian. That was his only crime. And when I have it, I look at that and I say, man, God, help me have the faith to be able to stand up to anything that comes before me, like St. Ignatius. Now, ultimately, I want to have the heart of Jesus, but Jesus and God, God worked through these men. They gave them the strength. God gave them the strength to be able to endure what they had to endure. Now is my prayer that I would have the same heart, that God would work with me the same way in the ways that God wants to be worked in me, that I would be able to stand up like those men. They're my role models. They're my Michael Jordans and my Mark McGuires I look up at the wall. So I can have something to strive for and have a reminder of those men can do it. They were just men, just like me. If those men can do it, so can I. So I want to ask you this. What are your thoughts? Did the soldier photograph analogy make sense to you? Is it the same or do you think it's different? Let me know in the comments. And like I said before, hit and subscribe. That'd be awesome. I'll see you next time on the next video. Shalom.